Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel, Inside the Hem. Do you remember a couple of months ago when I made that sewing pattern where the sewing pattern company had the software where you could adjust all of the sizes or all of the measurements to your own measurements, and it spit out like a custom drafted pattern that you didn't have to make any alterations to? Remember, I made the muslin and I was like so impressed with the muslin, and I promised you guys that I was going to make a skirt out of that pattern because the bottom half of that pencil skirt looked so good. Well, that company, Wildebloom, has made a few updates and released a couple of patterns. And so I wanted to talk you through some of them today and also show you the results of my skirt and a little bonus that I did. So here's the Catherine muslin that I made. Look at the back. Look at the back. You guys know what kind of waist to hip ratio I'm working with here. I've also developed a bit of a front belly situation, and all of these darts that it had me add in, camouflage, all of that. Look at the back. Look at the back from here through what people typically call a sway back. Not today. No fabric pooling, no fabric pulling. The hem is straight across. Ignore the fact that the hems aren't the same length. That was a me thing. I absolutely loved making this because I did not have to worry about a single adjustment at all. Like, I knew the pattern was going to fit me because I put it in all my measurements into the software before I ever even printed out the pattern. Well, now they have a sleeved version of Catherine. So if your biceps or sleeve length or something is an issue for you typically, you can buy the pattern called Amelia, and that will be the Catherine dress, but with sleeves. All right, so here is the Amelia dress listing, and you can see from the line drawing that it is exactly like the Catherine with the bodice darts, the skirt darts, but this one adds a sleeve to it. I also wanted to point out something really quick while I was here. I got a lot of questions about this in my last video. When you go to select a size, if you're doing the thing where you put in your own measurements and you're getting a custom pattern, this is irrelevant. You can literally choose whatever size you want and then put in your exact measurements and it still will work. This is only if you want to just buy a size, print that size, make that size, and not do the customization part of it. And then if you want just the skirt, because I was so impressed with genuinely how the skirt looked, and you know, fitting your bottom half is what is more challenging for you, they have a new pattern called the Jacqueline, to where you can just make the skirt. All right, this is the Jacqueline skirt pattern. You can see here that it has the darts just like the Catherine dress skirt does. It also has a side zip closure. Now this one does also have a little bit of decorative elastic at the top, which is a pretty much completely different finish than what I'm going to show you in the tutorial. But for me, since I'd already purchased the Catherine and I have a little bit of pattern hacking skills, I knew that I could take those pattern pieces and make my own separates, which is exactly what I did. So if you see here, we have my cutie little pencil skirt separate. And because I had some extra fabric, I made a matching vest. But I filmed it as a tutorial, so you guys can see exactly how I did it, how I took the skirt and created a facing for it and put the zipper in and all the things, and then how I took the bodice pattern and turned that into a vest with a center front seam, button front, and fully lined on top of that. So without further ado, let's cut to the tutorial. I can show you how to make this. Okay, let's start with the skirt. All you need to do is take your skirt pieces and you are going to cut the skirt back on the fold, and you're going to cut the skirt front on the fold. So you're going to have your full back piece and your full front piece. You are going to sew those as normal, you're gonna put the darts in and sew up the side seams and hem it. For the waist seam of the skirt, we need to finish it because when it was a dress, obviously the seam allowances went into the bodice. Now the seam allowances have nowhere to go. You could do like a bias binding and just finish the top that way. I think it's really neat and clean if you're to do a facing, and creating your own facing is really, really simple to do. It's basically just tracing. So starting with the front, you are going to cut through your dart. So remember, when you're attaching the facing to the skirt, the dart is already sewn. So we need to remove the darts to create that facing. So you're going to cut through, as you can see I've done here, the center of your dart. You are going to overlap to where the seam allowances are gone and the stitching lines are matched up on top of each other. And then I happen to have these little, they're kind of like a version of Wonder Clips, but I love the fact that they have this little flat part at the end because I can take it and clip it together like this. Another option would be if you had paper clips, that would also work. But see how that's going to hold that in place for me? I decided to make a really deep 3-inch facing, and then you add the 1/2-inch seam allowance and you have a total of 3.5 inches that you are going to be tracing off. So taking, let's see, this is a scrap piece of paper. You are going to take your skirt, put it on top of this. You're going to trace out your side seam, trace out the center front, and now it's a little subtle, but you can tell this has a little bit of a baby curve in it. And then you're going to measure down 3.5 inches, measure down 3.5 inches, and connect those two lines, and you end up having something like this. This is the center front. This is the side seam, and you have something that looks like that. So that matches up perfectly, all right? And then we're gonna do the back one together. So here is our back piece, and we're gonna close up our darts. And we don't really need to worry about what any of that is happening because we only need the top here. So trace this off. All right. And then measure down 3.5 inches and start marking. And mark your center back, which is this one over here. We're going to end up cutting this on the fold. So we need our little triangles. So we can cut this out. All right, so once you've got your skirt sewn up, side seams, hem, zippers in, I zipped this through my serger because this fabric frays like crazy, but you've got your skirt, right? Then you've got your facing pieces that you have cut out, and you have, what was this? This is the back. I'm gonna put a pin in so I remember which one's the back. Pin for back. All right, then you've got your front, and you're gonna put these right sides together like so. And then I need to remember which one gets the zipper. I always get this wrong. It's this one. It's this one gets the zipper, I think. Pin one side, sew, press, and then also finish the bottom edge of your facing however you want. You can put it through your serger, you can hem it, completely up to you. All right, so you've got your skirt, you've got your finished facing. I have the back side up. Remember, I marked the back side of my facing with the pin, so the backs should match, which they do. And you're gonna pin all the way around, matching up the side seam and the Well, I guess matching up the two side seams. All right, so you have your skirt, you have your facing. Remember, I marked my back facing with the pin, and this is the back side of my skirt that's facing up now. So we're gonna put these right sides together. We're gonna pin matching the side seam. So this open side seam gets matched to the zipper side, and then this closed side seam gets matched to the side seam of your skirt. Then you are going to sew that. So you're gonna pin, sew, and understitch this whole thing. All right, so you have your skirt facing, sewn, understitched. You can see that line here, and then I've turned it to the wrong side. And just to give myself a little bit of assurance, I think it's kind of annoying when the facings like flop up like this. So I'm going to sew mine down just at the very bottoms of the facings, right in the seam line of the darts. So in the back, I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. I'm also going to do the side seam, and then I'll do the 2 darts in the front as well. And just tacking them down in those few areas will help keep the facing in place. All right, for the top, I have opted to go with a vest style. So you can see I did a couple of things here. Number one is I added about, I don't know, a 1/2 inch or so to the shoulder seam because I wanted to give a little bit more of a drop to the arm side. I wanted that to hang a little bit lower. And then I removed the dart. So there's no dart here, there's no dart here. And then the back has darts in it, took those all out. And I added a little bit of width to the front and a little bit of width to the back. Your back is flatter, so you don't need to add as much as you would the front. And then I lengthened everything to add not only some length, because I want this to hang a little bit below my waist seam, but also my waistline and the waist seam of the skirt. But I also added a hem allowance because we're gonna have to hem this where we didn't have to do that when we were making it into a dress, because again, the seam allowance of the bodice went into the skirt. And then so the back is pretty straightforward. For the front, because I'm making it a vest, if you were just making it a top, you would cut along all of this exactly as it is on the center front seam. And then again, you'd put your zipper in the side. But because I'm making it a vest, I wanted it to kind of like cross over itself a little bit. That way I can add buttons. All right, and once you have your vest pieces cut, in my opinion, the easiest way to finish all of these raw edges is to line it. So you are going to trace this exact situation onto some lining fabric. A little tip for you is after I get this traced onto my lining fabric, literally tracing off these exact things, I like to trim away 1/8 of an inch of my lining all the way around. We are going to understitch, which will help the lining not peek out from the front, but trimming away that 1/8 of an inch and making the lining just a little bit smaller than the outer fabric will also aid in that as well. Okay, so I have sewn the lining, sewn the outer. A couple of other things that I did construction wise was just to stay stitch the neckline so that this that's cut on the bias and these curves here don't stretch out as this gets washed and worn. I also interfaced the center front of the outer. This is going to ensure that our buttons have and our buttonholes too really, have a little bit of something to hold on to. You're gonna do right sides together. So right side of our lining, right side of our outer, and line, pin up, and sew the entire front neckline and center front and also understitch. Now this is the unfinished arm side, and this is the finished arm side, because I just want to prove to you guys that you can do this with 0 hand stitching. If you know me at all, you know I just don't like it and I'm not good at it. So any chance I can, I'm trying to skip the understitching, or the hand stitching. But you can see here, fully sewn. Okay, so what you're gonna do is take your side seam. You're gonna turn under your main fabric. You're gonna turn under your lining fabric. That's what we want it to look like in the end, right? Now we're gonna reach between the two and find those raw edges. Now you grab them, put a pin here just as a placeholder so that I don't get confused later. But you can see with some finagling, pulling the fabric through the shoulder seam, you can work your way all the way around. So what I'll end up doing is I'll sew from here to here as far as I can go, and then I'll start over, go the other way from here back around until those two things meet back up again. Same thing with the understitching. I'm going to go just as deep into that shoulder seam as I possibly can. All right, all we have left is this hem, and remember what I said about hand stitching? We're not doing it. So I'm going to find the center back of the lining and the center back of the main fabric. We are going to turn this up, and so we turn under the lining, turn up the main, and then just like we did for the arm size, we're going to reach between the lining and the main fabric. We're going to pinch the seam allowances, and then we're going to flip it out. So right around here is where we had it held. Flatten that out, put a pin there. Great. And now when you go to your machine, you're going to start center back and you're going to go to the center front. All right. So this is it with the whole bottom hem sewn. I did lie a little bit. I fudged a little bit. You are going to have to do the smallest amount of hand stitching. We need to leave a hole to turn it right side out. So you can either leave a hole in the bottom or you can open one up in the side seam. I prefer this because my hand stitching is ugly and I want to hide it as much as possible. So you're going to reach in after you've seam ripped a little hole in there and turn this right side out. All right, and that's what that looks like. Now we just need to add our button and our buttonholes. I'm gonna do 3. I already made, you ready for this? Some covered buttons. And because I'm so extra, I did them to match the background of where they were going. Too much? Is that too much? Okay, there you have it. Such a fun little thing to get your brain going a little bit when you don't have to worry about how something is going to fit. You can just worry about like fun little hacks like this. I had the best time making both of these garments. So if you got the Catherine before and you want to make them into separates, follow this tutorial. If you haven't purchased a Wildebloom pattern before, if you know for sure you just want the skirt, go get Jacqueline. Or you can purchase Amelia, which has sleeves, bodice, and skirt, and have all 3 options, and then you can separate them, mix and match them, follow this tutorial to separate them, all the things, and you'll have all the pieces of the body covered. I'm gonna be back in a month or so to talk to you guys about the sleeve version. I'm gonna actually make a sleeve muslin. I'm gonna buy the Amelia, make the bodice with the sleeves, and talk you through that whole process. But if you're interested and want to go ahead and get started, I do have a coupon code for you guys. I'm going to leave it here on the screen for you guys to go check out Wildebloom. I love where sewing patterns are headed, you guys. It's getting easier and easier for us to be able to do this at home and have really nice looking garments that fit really well, way better than anything we'll ever find in the store. It's super, super exciting. So go check out Wildebloom, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye.